I am Jessica Rhodes, and I'm here to help you rock the podcast from both sides of the mic. I have just released my very first book. It's called Interview Connections, How to Rock the Podcast from Both Sides of the Mic. You can get it for free at interviewconnectionsbook.com. And I wanted to tell you how I got that book done in about 6 to 9 months. Now, I have been creating content for about 4 years now. I have been blogging weekly, doing weekly podcasts, weekly videos, and I have talked about, it feels like everything in regards to being a podcast guest, getting booked, hosting an interview-based podcast, marketing your podcast, monetizing it, and everything in between. And I was ready to get my book done, get all of the content that I teach into a paperback book. So the first step that I took was I outlined everything that I wanted to have in my book. I knew I wanted to break it into 2 parts, hosting a podcast and being a guest on podcasts. So I started those as my first 2 outline items. And then under each of those 2 parts, I then bullet pointed all of the things that I want to teach about for those 2 sections, and I just built out the outline. The next step I took was going through all of the content that I have already created around those 2 topics. Blog posts that I've done about, for example, how to create a one-sheet, what is a one-sheet for, or how to find podcast guests, how to request a guest. Everything that I wanted to write about in my book, I have talked about it and have blogged or done videos about it in some form. So I just combed through everything that I had created in the past 3-4 years and kind of input all of those different posts into my outline. And then I went and expanded it. So it's not like I took a blog post and just pasted it in and was like, all right, there's a chapter. You have to finesse it. A blog post is not the same as a book chapter, but it has some of your meat there. So that was kind of the basic first step of like getting all the content I created and kind of organizing it and putting it into my outline. And then I started writing, piecing together all of the different parts, making it flow more like a book. And then the next step, very important one, is I hired an editor, somebody that could make my, big jumbled mess and actually put it together and make it read like a book. And that's a really important part because, most of us were business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We are not necessarily natural born authors, but that doesn't mean that you can't take all of your expertise and actually make a book out of it. So create as much content as you can, write as much of your book as you can, get in touch with an editor, somebody that can really help take all of your words, all of your thoughts, all of your expertise and kind of finesse it together into a book. You can get my book for free at interviewconnectionsbook.com. And thank you so much for watching. I am your host, Jessica Rhodes, here to help you rock the podcast from both sides of the mic.